So my question is about actually doing the paperwork part of registering your business. When you start out, there's a number of different companies that offer services, such as online services where you can just fill out the online survey and they register your LLC or whatever for you. There's also, you could go the lawyer route, and then also you can get the files, get the paperwork filled out yourself, and just kind of do that. So my question is, what would be sort of like the recommended method?
Yes.
Why, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so you're talking about should you incorporate or not, and how do you incorporate? Should you use one of these online services? I guess LegalZoom does this, and there's all these other businesses online that do it, and they'll make an LLC for you, or a C corporation, or an S corporation, or should you get a lawyer? The person who does it online maybe will cost them, I don't know, $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, under $1,000. Let's say if you get a lawyer, maybe it will cost you $2,000 or $3,000. It's all basically in that same zone, but this is a question that gets people nervous, and it made me nervous when I was starting my first companies. And you can make some mistakes in terms of tax and in terms of partnerships, and if you have partners. So the first question you have to ask yourself, there's really two questions starting out: is one, do you have partners or not? And two, have you done this before or not? And a third one is how much resources you have. So, and how big you think the company's going to get. So do you have partners or not?
I do not have partners. No.
If you don't have partners, it makes it a lot easier because you don't have to worry about having an operating agreement and a stock agreement, who owns what. If you do have partners, you do need to worry about that. Who has stock? How much stock do they have? How does that stock vest? All those things come into play. So without them, you can just start an LLC or a C corp, an S corp, small corp, and pay one-time tax, which means the corporation, you don't pay double tax, the corporation pay tax, and you pay taxes, one-time flow-through tax, which you can talk to a lawyer about. And how big do you think the business is going to get? Is this a business you want to build into a venture-backed business? You want to have 10 employees? You want to try to raise money? Or do you not want to try to raise money?
Probably not in the first couple of years. Maybe grow it to about 20 people or so.
Okay, so if you're planning on potentially raising money and adding employees, it's worth doing it right. It's worth having a good attorney. You can do it without that, but then they're going to have to do some cleanup work eventually. What I suggest is you find a startup attorney and explain your situation to them. Hey, I'm a first-time entrepreneur. I don't have a lot of money. Would you meet with me? Because guess what? The guys at places like Wilson Sonsini or my lawyer Joey at Fortis, other firms like that, Oric, what are the other ones that?
Cooley. We use
Cooley is another big one. These firms will actually give you a discount, a break, if you are an ambitious young person. They want to work with you. They want to see you succeed so they can make money off you in the future. They want to build relationships early. What if you're the next Larry and Sergey from Google? You trust us. Maybe I get pre-IPO stock or whatever. So they're investing in you as a client. And you can say to them, I would like a flat rate for raising an angel round. And most of them will do it. And they'll do it on contingency, which means, and I have this credibility with attorneys, and I don't need to do it, but I'll say to them, I'm thinking about raising an angel round for this. As a matter of fact, I did this with This Week In. 6 months ago, I said, I think I'm going to make thisweekin.com into a company. I may raise an angel round. Can you set it all up? And will you do it on contingency? And my lawyer said, of course, we'll do it on contingency for you, Jay. I said, no problem. Not that it matters. It's going to be $10,000 maybe to do an angel round. To do a venture capital round, maybe it's $25,000 to $40,000. And you have to maybe pay for your venture capitalists, lawyers, which is a little pain in the ass, so it might be double. But you can actually negotiate that up front. And having the counsel of a good lawyer is critical. Anything that is worth doing correctly. So if you're going to do a startup company, do it correct from the beginning. Worst case scenario, you wasted $1,000 or $2,000 incorporating correctly. Best case scenario, you don't have a $50,000 legal fee or, God forbid, a lawsuit over the IP in the company, the intellectual property of the company later on. You've done this a couple of times. What do you think?
I learned the right way and the hard way. There's two things in the beginning of a company you don't skimp on. One is legal formation, and the second is accounting. And that's everything. I've owned restaurants, I've owned concierge businesses, I've owned technology companies.
Why don't you skimp?
Because you will end up paying massively either to the government, who's collecting taxes from you when you do things incorrectly, or when you need to basically reincorporate in a different form, in a different format, and file, Reg D stuff and all sorts of other things you need to do. It is lawyers love to go and clean things up. It's very expensive to do that.
Yes.
You can file an LLC boilerplate with a little bit of recommendation for $500 to the state, depending on the state, plus $1,000 in legal fees on a standard op agreement and member manager agreements. But going and then converting that into an S-corp, right?
Yep.
Is going to cost you $6,000.
Right. So you might as well pay the money to get your counsel correct and do it correct. Now, I do use LLCs from time to time for my side projects, so Calicanis conferences or other things I've started. Open Angel Forum is an LLC because I own it, I control it. I may have a partner on, who knows, down the road. TechCrunch 50 was an LLC that Mike Arrington and I co-own. But if you're going to have a company that's going to raise money and have multiple shareholders, you're going to want to go the S or C Corp route, and you can read the differences between those two things. It's essentially the same, except in the S Corp it means small, I think, and that means you pay one-time tax, not two-time tax, which you can Google all that. And
there's a limit on investors, right?
What's that?
I think there's also a limitation on investors.
500 or something?
One's 32 and one's 500. Or something
yeah,
like that.
exactly. So there's a number of investors you have is recommended. What you really want to do, though, is getting a lawyer. Is you get more than just a lawyer. And I mean, I don't want to sit here and stump for lawyers because, nothing makes me furious like a legal bill. I mean, every third legal bill I argue with my lawyer, like, can you give me a break? And he's like, Jason, why do you need a break? He does, but he's pretty good about it. And I, with my people here, I'm like, record the amount of time you're on the phone with the attorney, and do not call the attorney without consulting me first. Like, that's our rule here, all my companies. Do not call the attorney, do not email the attorney without telling me explicitly why, because I don't want to have that hour and a half. Because you may have a 15-minute question that I can answer. You know what I'm saying? So you have to know when to use an attorney, when not. The time to use an attorney is when you're forming a company.
You've been watching This Week in Startups. To watch the full episode, click here. To check out some other shows from This Week In, click here.